I'm Michelle Coyle, and I help queer entrepreneurs start up and scale. And today we're going to talk about what makes for a successful entrepreneur. Now, listen, as part of my job, I'm CEO of a small management consulting firm, and I'm often tasked with very quickly figuring out if a startup founder has what it takes to go the distance, to grow a successful business, to really hack it as an entrepreneur. So I thought I'd give you guys a little glimpse into the 6 traits that I look for. All right, so the first trait, number one trait that I'm always looking for is integrity. That means that we do not charge money for things that we're not amazing at. It means that we're honoring every contract that we sign. You've got to be somebody that keeps your word. Now, I'm from Oklahoma originally. Shout out to any Okies that are watching this. And when I grew up, the way I was raised, your word is your bond. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so your word, your integrity is what you have. And I still very much believe that at the end of the day, your word is what you have. If you are not somebody that keeps your word, if you're somebody that's out there being shady or trying to be tricky, or trying to, say that you have qualifications you don't have or charge money for things that you're not good at or anything like that, you might make money in the short term. In the long term, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. Karma is real. And if you're out there putting out things like that, it's going to come back to you. People are going to find out your whole business is going to tank within a few years. It's not worth it. It's not going to work out for you. You got to have integrity. So that's number one. Number two is that you have to have a willingness to work your ass off. Now, I know that you've heard this over and over from anyone that talks about successful entrepreneurship. You've got to put the work in. But I'm not just talking about the physical work of working, huge long hours. You can certainly do this in 40 hours a week if you're really focused. But you are going to have to do some very strong, heavy lifting when it comes to the psychological work, the mindset work, the brain work, because there are always going to be blocks that we all have that get in our way and fears that come up. And it is a lot of work to be able to start to feel comfortable feeling uncomfortable. That's very important. And jumping off those cliffs, taking those leaps, doing the scary shit is what entrepreneurship is made of. And so there's a lot of work to making sure that you are mentally and psychologically prepared to do that. The third thing that I look for is coachability, the ability to follow. You have to be able to follow in order to be able to lead, right? And so great entrepreneurs are always learning. They're always looking for other leaders to learn from. The best leaders I know are also amazing followers, right? You have to be willing to take input and advice, not from everybody, right? I always tell my clients, if they're not in your target audience and they haven't grown a business over $1 million, probably their opinion doesn't matter. But if it is somebody who you want to be like, who you want to emulate one day, if you have hired them to help you in any kind of coaching or consulting role, or if they're just a role model or some kind of mentor, you got to be coachable. You got to be willing, open-minded, and willing to listen to what other people have to say and learn from them, or you're going to just stay stuck where you are. Okay, the fourth thing, and this is a really big one, is risk tolerance. Obviously, you have to have a very strong gut to be an entrepreneur. We are often making decisions on limited data. We are often taking steps where we don't know for sure that it's going to pan out. Now, of course, we want to be strategic. We want to be diligent. We want to mitigate our risk as much as possible. But in business, in entrepreneurship, especially in small business, there is always a risk. Where this comes up most for people that I'm often talking to is that they're scared to invest in the business. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm also talking about time. I'm talking about emotionally. Businesses take tons and tons of investment to grow. You have got to be willing to put money into it. And yeah, you're going to have a plan for getting that money back. I fucking hope so. But you may not get that money back. And so you have to understand that I may need to borrow money to put into my business, or I may need to solicit investors. And I'm now risking other people's money. That's a really scary thing to do. You have to be able to do it, because if it gets to the point where it's time to invest in hiring new people, advertising, inventory, any of the things that you need to invest in to grow a business, and you're too scared to go out and borrow that money or get the investment that you need or put your own money on the line or whatever you need to do, your business is not going to be able to grow. So you have to have that risk tolerance and that willingness to invest. The fifth thing that I'm looking for is grit. So I'll often tell people I will take somebody who grew up poor over someone who grew up rich as an entrepreneur any day. People who grew up poor are comfortable being uncomfortable, and entrepreneurs if they're doing it right, are generally uncomfortable most days. So all this shit you see about, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur so I can just be on the beach and do whatever I want and still make money and passive income. And like, yeah, if you're really, really good at it, you'll get to that point eventually. But that sure as hell isn't how the first 5 years is going to go, or the first 20, depending on what you're doing. You're going to have to be able to find the joy amongst a lot of discomfort, a lot of really scary things. This is not easy. It's really, really hard to do. And so if you're somebody who's coming out of a background or some kind of circumstances where you've had to survive, where you've had to fight through, where you've had to be uncomfortable, you're going to have a leg up over someone who's been comfortable their entire life, somebody who grew up with lots of resources and never really had to kind of have a hard or scary job ever and was kind of, shepherded into things and taken care of, is going to really, really struggle as an entrepreneur, because the first time that there's no money in the bank, they're going to freak out. They've always had money in the bank, right? So I have a lot of people say, oh, I'm not like all your clients. I don't come from money. And I'm like, who the hell do you think I work with, right? People are coming in because they want to do something and move to a different space from where they are, not because they're already super comfortable, right? So you got to have that grit, and you've got to be ready to kind of fight through it. This is not an easy thing to do. And finally, and this is very, very important, you really have to have the desire. You have to want to do it. And that might seem obvious, but I got to put it here at number 6, because I do talk to enough people who will kind of come and say, well, this is what I just thought I should do, or, my dad thought I should start a business, or it seems like the right thing to do right now at this time with my skill set. But what I really want to be doing is X. I had somebody tell me one time that he was starting a business to fund his music career, because what he really wanted to do was go be a rock star. And I said, go be a rock star. This is way too hard to do if you don't want to be doing it. It's got to be, at the end of the day, like, this is what I want, this is my dream, this is over everything else, because that's what's going to get you through on the hardest, scariest days. And by the way, it's hard and scary for everybody. For me, for everybody else I know that's an entrepreneur, it is hard and it is scary. And the thing that will get you through is, I want this more than anything. So when I talk to someone that says, and I say, well, why don't you just go get a job? And they say, because the idea of working for somebody else makes me want to like puke in a trash can. I go, okay, you're an entrepreneur, great. You want to do this more than you want to do anything else. You got a really solid shot of making it. So that's it. Those are my 6 things. If you like what you're seeing here, follow along, hit this button and subscribe. We're coming at you a couple times a week with all the business tips, and I don't want you to miss anything. I've also got a new free thing for you for queer entrepreneurs. Check out the link in the description. Check out my new training, especially for queer entrepreneurs, and how to survive and thrive with your business in these really, really uncertain and scary economic times. I'd love for you to see that. Listen, if you guys have anything else that you want to hear me talk about, or anything you want to discuss, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Definitely want to hear from you. Definitely want to make this into a dialogue. Listen, I know you can do this. If you want to own a small business, or you have one and you really want to grow it, it really just takes that desire, that grit, that risk tolerance, that integrity, that willingness to work hard, that listening and coachability. If you can put that in the mix, you're going to be great. I know it. I can't wait to see what you do. Go out, let it shine. We'll talk to you next time.